Hey y'all, it's Sugar here, and you know what time it is. If Sugar's in the building or if Sugar's outside, I'm outside. It must be 7:30 on a Wednesday, and we out here talking women's boxing. So, um, I'm gonna introduce myself. My name is Natalie SUGAR Brown. I have been an elite fighter for the last 20 plus years. Yes, I am a crone, as they would call us. I have been ranked in the top level, or I have been an elite fighter for the majority of my career as a fighter. And now with the Sugar Show, I'm here to provide some insight into the world of women's boxing. So I ain't talking about women who are in boxing, right? Because the lines get blurred there. Everybody wants some clout. Everybody wants some shine in this industry, even the men's, right? But we talking about us who bleed or have bled in there, us who have signed our name and taken the risk of our life to do this and to move the industry forward. So tonight, I'm going to share a bit of women's boxing history with y'all. One of the chapters, an important, interesting chapter. And like I always say, please, please, please chime in, ask questions. You don't have to know anything about this because not many people know about women's boxing, even the people that claim to know, right? This is the platform of We Just Easy, and we're having a conversation. We're having a conversation of just this perspective, being a woman in this industry, in the boxing industry, and the life of a female gladiator. Okay, so tonight we're going to talk about one of women's boxing's mega fights. Okay, yes, mega. Okay, that term has been thrown around loosely in talks nowadays, in talks in for the past decade. Mega women, mega. But do y'all know what mega is in women's boxing? What does mega mean? Mega is not two broads fighting. No. It goes a lot deeper for women in women's boxing. Our fights weren't against each other. Our fights started off against the institutions of those who kept of boxing. Our mega fights, our biggest fights, were against those gatekeepers that wanted to keep us out of the dance. And I always say this because I've learned this from my elders, and a lot of them were just so funny this way, where they've said, if you can't get in through the front door, sometimes you got to climb through a window. Right? And when I heard that, as a youth hearing that, I understood that, okay, it's all about perspective, right? You're not going to be welcomed everywhere into every party, right? But that doesn't mean you can't get in. And once you're in, that's when you can have some fun, okay? And you can let some of your other people in too. And then we can have our own party in the party, which is what's happening right now, right? So women's boxing is a party in the party. Yeah. We got our own world. We got our own uh, ru- rules. We got our own social um, dealings. We got our own beefs. We got our own issues that we face, right? And a lot of people compare us or want to always compare us to men and male boxing. When we first started, or when it got really uh, popular around the 90s, a lot of people wanted to see or wanted to infer that, oh, women are going to start fighting men now. And that was not the intent of women boxing, right? The intent of women boxing is we want to compete with our fellow women to see who's the best, who's the baddest, who will go there. It was never about stepping up to fight a man or a male. They ain't got nothing to do with this, right? So, going into the story now, we're talking about this particular story tonight because recently, for the first time, women have been inducted into the International Boxing Hall of Fame. That's huge. Why? Because they never saw us before. They didn't see us. And now, look at us. We get invited to the dance. We got some ladies that are got tables at the dance now. And it feels good. It feels good, but there is still a lot of controversy with the names that have been inducted into the International Boxing Hall of Fame. And I'm using my platform, the Sugar Show, to clear some things up. Because, like I said earlier, people out here think they know about women's boxing and they don't know shit about women's boxing, right? So quote me just like they quote uh, Uncle Roger, right? Saying that, oh, well, he don't know shit about boxing. You don't know shit about women's boxing, but I'm going to tell you something, right? I'm going to enlighten you tonight, okay? So the story starts off in 1974. Two women, female fighters, walk into the New York State Athletic Commission and they fill out their application because they're excited to become professional boxers. It ain't had nothing to do with women, female. They wanted to be professional pugilists, right? And so their names were Jackie Tanawanda and Miriam Tremar. So they walked into the office, filled out their application, and of course, being women, going into the athletic commission to get a professional license to do anything was preposterous at the time because it was against the rules. But hey, um, they went in, they wanted to see what they wanted to see what would happen. So they went in there, and despite the sarcasm, despite being left out of the office, they still had the um they still had the what word do I want to use? They still had the hope that they would one day be a professional fighter, right? It's just so simple. Nowadays, you can go into your local commission and fill out an application and and be a fighter, right? Um, but at this time, you had to be a certain type of person to go get your boxing license. So, um, Jackie Tonawanda and Miriam Tremar were denied their boxing license. Okay. Um, the New York State Commission, which is a group of people who agree or decide whether to pass through a request or not, they unanimously denied both women of their professional boxing license. There was an actual rule stated that no woman may be a licensed boxer, second, or licensed to compete in any wrestling exhibition either with men. Okay, so basically, with men, meaning that you couldn't even be on a card fighting, right? So you couldn't fight another woman on the same card, boxing card, as men. So there it is. Okay. Now they closed the gate on us, on women. Okay. It's a rule, right? The chairman of the New York Athletic Commission, and I ain't even going to speak his name. Okay. But I mean, if you want to look it up, it is, I want you to look it up. These sugar talks about this, or I talk about these things because, but I'm not, or my show is not about reeling out numbers and reeling out, all of these facts or whatever, because guess what? They ain't facts. The numbers aren't real. None of that stuff is the truth. It's made up. It's based on who remembers. It's based on who decided to make an account that that actually happened. Yeah. And I don't go for that. Right? My coach Johnny Gant used to say this. Speaking to somebody who went to school and studied and read a book about how to fly a plane is a different conversation than speaking to someone who is an actual pilot. Right? Hear those bars now. Reading a book about something and actually living that life is two different conversations. And that's where they conflict. Right? I'm on this platform. The Sugar Show is real. I'm telling you that real because I lived it. I'm not telling you a number. I'm not telling you a date. I'm not telling you none of that because I lived it. Those who haven't lived it got to give you numbers. They got to give you those things to entertain you, right? Because they can't give you that hard won, hard fought, authentic perspective of that life. Okay. But I would love if some of you guys chimed in with the numbers, please. I always have I always have my participants and fans that drop in, or people, my people out there that drop in, that drop some jewels, drop some information, drop some numbers, and dates and all of that stuff that we can refer back to. So, you know, I'll let y'all bring the numbers, but what I'm doing is I'm spitting that ether, that real, that fire. Okay, so I digress. Back to the story. Okay, so the chairman of the New York Athletic Commission, had been quoted to say that licensing female boxers would erode the sport's image, the sport of boxing's image as a manly art of self-defense. Now, you hear that bull jive? Let me tell you what that means. means, or let me tell you what that translates to in real life mileage and perspective. Those type of men are the type of men in the gym where if you step into the space with them, all of a sudden they feel like they're not a man anymore. Just by me being here, just by me stepping into the space. Now I have um I have now uh, uh done something to where you don't feel like you're a man anymore. I have imposed on your manhood just just from my presence. Let me go even further. You got some men now like that who are outside the ring, but then there's some men that are in the boxing ring like that, right? So I'll give you a story about. I'll give you one of my stories. Um, just starting off as a young woman boxing, I um I I had there was very few other women in the gym, if any. So I mostly sparred with men. And not to say that there weren't men or young men out there that were very encouraging and were very helpful in my growth and development as a fighter. They didn't coddle me, right? They showed me what the hell it was in there and what I needed to expect and expect to be in there. So I'm grateful for that. But you had the other ones, which I am also grateful for, that were intimidated by just the presence of a woman in the ring with them. So going into sparring or going in boxing with a male as a female now is a different game plan, right? Because I have to understand and respect the fact that I am a woman. And a lot of the time, I'm not going to be physically stronger than the man that I'm in the ring with. Man strength, women's strength are different strengths. They're still strengths. Okay. Some women don't get that. Some men don't get that. Right. But I had to quickly uh, come to terms with that. So as I'm boxing, or as I get the experience of boxing different sparring partners, I understand that, or I saw that some men, some males, young men, were uh, very privy to that understanding. They knew what that meant, and some men had no clue. Right? So some men use their strength to show me, or use their strength in reservation, in taking that man strength off the playing field, off the chessboard, and use this, right? Because boxing is all about this. Yeah, we use this, right? But there's a strategy and a plan behind this. And those men that I went into the ring with and I sparred, they actually used me to help them uh, elevate their IQ as fighters in there, right? They respected me as a fighter enough to look at me as a fighter, to know that I can think just like them. I can come up with a plan just like them. And they wanted to see what I know. And I pressed them. I pressed them. Yes. I put some things together. I got them sometimes. I won some rounds off the strength of this, and understanding that skills pay the bills, and it's how you apply those skills, right? But then there were some sparring sessions where I put something together and I catch a guy And all of a sudden, oh my gosh, he's not a man anymore. He turned the male energy straight up. And now that's all he's using. And he's flashing me around and pushing me around. And he's hitting me hard. Yeah, right? Because he wants me to know that he's a man, which is quite obvious, dude. You're a man, or you're male and I'm female. But I'm not going to quit. You're not going to make me quit, because I got this and I got skills that pay the bills. So the more I used my brain and the more I used strategy to get over in the sparring session and win those battles that went down in each round, the more they left or got away from their mental capacity of being a fighter and got into their ego of being a man. Some sessions I got hurt. Yeah. Some sessions had to be stopped. But guess what? Sugar never quit. Never quit. Because I understood that that was the battleground. That was the playing field. Um, Understanding that some that it was a matter of a person's manhood. Me boxing was a matter of someone proving their manhood, per se, against me, and had to prove that they're men just like the rest of the men that were in the gym, or had to represent for all men that ain't no woman going get a shot in on them, or ain't no woman going to beat them in a sparring match. Go fig. Sugar's still here standing, and I can still say my whole name, Natalie SUGAR Brown. That's my whole name. I remember it. Okay. Some of you guys out there, and I'm sorry to say this, bring this up, y'all can't even get past the first syllable. And it's because, right, that ego, you use you use the discipline of boxing to get in the way of elevating yourself to a better or a different perspective of life, and getting through and getting and being successful, because really that's what boxing is. Boxing is the personification of achieving a goal. You start you start from the training right up until you get into the ring, right? You have to achieve small milestones and small goals to get to the bigger picture, right? And that's why I believe everyone should box. Not competitively, but everyone should apply themselves to some kind of martial art or that kind of discipline, because you realize who you really are. You realize the fabric that you're made of when you participate instead of spectate. But I digress. Going back to the story, or going back to this page, this chapter in women's boxing history. Okay, so the industry of boxing for women was now stacked obstacles, right? Because in the 1970s, there was still racial tension. There was still prejudice, right? Where certain people, certain classes, certain groups were more valuable than the other groups. And there was segregation where we couldn't even come together. We couldn't even have relationships, right? This was like fresh off the civil rights movement. So not everyone got it. Okay. And now we have women who dared to step outside the lines of even that, and press and press the status quo of the whole perspective of what women represented and what women should be. Right. So these two young ladies, I love them with my heart and soul, because I wouldn't be Sugar without them. Stepped in and stepped up to make the first step for this great um, turning point in history to happen. So Miriam Tramar and Jackie Tonawanda were denied their licenses unanimously by the New York State Athletic Commission. Okay. Um, Jackie, who I think she was about Jackie Tonawanda, who was about 27 years old at the time, I think. Like I said, these numbers and these dates are hit or miss, right? But she was a young woman at the time that wanted to do something outside of what anyone else could imagine. Her and Miriam Tramar. Jackie Tonawanda then went to the Human Rights Commission of New York, where she made the argument that her being denied her license to fight professionally revoked her ability to make a living, right? Because okay, how you going to deny uh, how you going to deny a doctor his or her license? They can't legally practice. They're breaking the law every time they do something that they have been trained to do, or something that would make their living, where everyone else is practicing the same thing, right? So Jackie pivoted, or she took another angle on that, which I absolutely love, right? Because like I said, perspective is the key, right? They went through the door. They went and tried to go through the door, and the door was slammed in their face. Jackie seemed to be a slick one. She seemed to be, she said, no, it's not going down like that. That's my human right is to be able to make a living. I want to professionally make a living as a pugilist, as a boxer, as a fighter. So, the New York Commission now came back with their rebuttal, saying that it was a safety issue. Okay, women needed special equipment to ensure their safety, because we got different bobbles and different jiggles than you guys. Certain y'all jiggles are in different places than our jiggles. Let's put it that way. Yep. Okay. All right. It's a. I mean, it's my show. And I'm trying to keep it. I'm trying to keep it PG, but if you know, you know. So that being the case, they're saying that there was no equipment at the time that would ensure the safety of our jiggles, or the safe our uh, immediate safety in participating in this combative sport. Okay. um and they stuck with that. So where Jackie Tonawanda still she stayed in court with them, continuing to press her argument of her basic human rights have been denied, because she cannot make a living, the living that she wants to. So then the fight kept going on. Tiger went on a hunger strike. Okay, so Miriam Tiger Tramar actually went on a hunger strike. I believe it was for something like 2 months. She did not eat. She stood outside of Madison Square Garden protesting. Okay, she shaved her head. She did all of these things to get the attention. She was a female fighter. She was a female gladiator, and she exists right? Where people wanted to deny her very existence. Okay, so that's huge, right? This is one young woman. These are young women who now have devoted their life to changing the scope. Okay, so now 1977 comes around, where some states got it, right? Some states were more progressive. 13 states allowed women to box. Okay. But New York still stood on their denial of allowing women to box professionally under the law. It was still illegal in New York. Okay. So I'll name those states. I'll name a couple states. Okay. So we had Texas, where Barbara Butrick, yeah, Buttrick, yes. Sorry, but sorry, Mama Barb. It's not disrespectful. Sugar is just bad with names, but I mean, that she has a deeper story, deeper roots than this into it, where I will visit in another chapter of women's boxing. But we talking about Miriam Tramar, Jackie Tonawanda, and Kathy Davis, who I'm introducing right now into the plot, okay, into the story, into the history. So 1977 comes around. Women are boxing in 13 of the 50 states, okay? Um, New York stood by their denial of legally allowing women to box, okay? Um, so therefore, guess what? I'm going to give you some real perspective of what was going on at that time. It's not that women weren't boxing. It's not that women weren't fighting. We was doing that best underground. Yeah, we were underground fighting. We were fighting in the strip clubs. We were fighting in the mud wrestling clubs. We were going across the border fighting people. We were still fighting. Just because y'all say, or just because a commission says, or just because there was no sanctioning body saying that we were legitimately doing something, don't mean we weren't still behaving badly. Okay, so women were still fighting. Okay, I believe, and I would definitely believe, uh, Marion Tramar might have had some underground fights. I believe that Jackie Tonawanda may have had some underground fights, and many other women were doing that. Um, I said that to say this: at the recent induction of Jackie Tonawanda, lovely assistant, can you put these do I have some images that you could put up? I'm sorry. Yeah. Um, I'm hoping that my face could get side by side, but if not, we could keep going. Okay. So this is an article showing the women, along with the great Floyd Patterson, who served on the New York State Commission, actually getting the right. This article shows them in the commissioner's office actually receiving their boxing licenses. Okay, so you got Jackie Tonawanda on the far left. Okay, then you got Kathy Cat Davis in the middle. Okay, and then you have the legendary lady Miriam Tiger Tramar on the right with the bald head. She's sporting the baldy next to the legend Floyd Patterson. Okay, so this is the this is the documentation. Okay, this is where it starts for some people, but it been for many of us. Okay, do I have another image? Um, Lovely assistant. I know I got people listening in, right? But I got pictures, right? So and I want you guys to look these ladies up too. So the image that's up right now is Jackie Tonawanda, and I started off with her because in the in the recent International Boxing Hall of Fame, she was inducted. She's no longer with us. R.I.P. Champion, right? But there are a lot of people up in arms, a lot of men's out there, because that's who I seen got they briefs and they boxers in a wad between they they hind parts about this woman getting inducted into the International Boxing Hall of Fame, because they said they said they said she never fought. They said she lied. They said she didn't do what you clearly see her dressed up to do. They said she only had one fight in her entire career, and it was a sanctioned fight with someone else. I don't know the other contender's name, but just to let you know, she actually had a fight with someone else. She had a fight with another contender. Okay, so if women weren't fighting, where are they finding other women to fight? Right? So she fought another contender at Madison Square Garden. Okay, and she lost that fight. And it was a big laugh or whatever, because from what I understand of Jackie Tondawanda's personality is she was in your face. She's going to tell you what it is, who she was, okay? And she might even stretch the truth, just like a lot of fighters do, male and female. A lot of us talk shit. A lot of us um blow ourselves and blow each other up bigger than who we really are. It's a part of the game, right? But now we have these people that all of a sudden they know her, they know the story, and they're invalidating who she is. And oh, it's a travesty that she got inducted. Rocky is inducted. I said Rocky Balboa is inducted in the International Boxing Hall of Fame. Was Rocky Balboa even a fighter? Did he even exist? No. And he's inducted into the International Hall of Fame. Why come? Why? Why? Now, is it a travesty that this woman, whether she was real or not, she got documentation. She walked in to get her license. She put her name on the line. She fought the institutions that denied her, right, of becoming a legal fighter, right? How and why come now she is not a candidate to be inducted into the Hall of Fame? Okay. No, that's not, it's not gonna, it doesn't work like that, right? Women, I do believe that she may have fought underground unsanctioned fights. Okay. um and so that's why the spotlight is on her. She deserves to be there. She deserves her spot in the Hall of Fame. She rest in peace. Her name carries on for her efforts, because if it wasn't for her efforts, a lot of us, your Katie Taylor, your Cecilia Bregas, your other punks out there that y'all do celebrate, wouldn't be here. Okay, so next image, lovely assistant. And many of us, many other greats in the industry wouldn't be here. I mean, your Layla Ali wouldn't be here if it wasn't for Jackie Tonawanda and Miriam Tramar and Kathy Cat Davis, right? Her daddy wouldn't go and sign her up for that. He didn't like it. Like he laughed at these ladies, right? He wasn't about that women's fighting life. Okay. Okay, so I mean, you're looking at another image here where this is Jackie Tonawanda fighting a male. He seems to be some kind of wrestler in martial arts, but these are the type of unsanctioned bouts that happen, that female fighters female boxers signed up to do just for the opportunity to fight, to get in the ring and fight. It means that it meant that much to a woman like us, or a woman like me, or women like us. Yes. Yeah. That path meant that much to us, or means that much to us. Right. And because we took that path, now some of y'all have a job, right? Your Eddie Hearn now has a cash cow in Katie Taylor, where he's making millions of dollars off of her. Okay. Jane Couch, I see you. I've been seeing you over there. Britain's royalty. She is over there boxing, women's boxing royalty out of Britain. She put her life on the line. Jane Couch, she put herself on the line, and they stonewalled her, right? But do you see her being honored at of their any of their events? Do you see any of these British broads out here even mentioning that the great Jane Couch, right? They have a job. They can make some money because of these women, right? But they think the show's about them. Okay, so we're gonna keep going. We're gonna keep going. It looks like the evening's coming in, so I'm gonna continue with the story. So 1977, the different states came in. 1978 now, the girl, the broad, Kathy Cat Davis came on the scene. And please change my image, please. Keep going, change the image. And that's Tonawanda again, in the ring, an unsanctioned bout, okay, fighting a guy, right? And you can see, if she didn't fight or she couldn't fight, she was definitely putting it together in this image. You guys who are not watching but the YouTube show, who are listening in, come check me out on Talkin Fight on my platform. We on YouTube. Come find me. I'm out here. Okay. Next image, you guys. So Kathy Cat Davis. I'm trying to get to now Kathy Cat now. Okay, that's Tonawanda. That's her in the ring. That's another fighter. Let's keep going through. So Kathy Cat Davis. Next image. There she goes, blonde, young lady. Okay, so Tiger Chamar and I'm sorry, Miriam Chamar and Jackie Tonawanda are both would be considered Black women. Okay, women of color. And Kathy Cat Davis she is a blonde-haired, uh, white young lady. Okay, and she came in around 1978, but her appeal is she had the market. It is what it is, right? Those two young Black women, that wasn't the time for them. They weren't going to get that attention. So Kathy Cat Davis comes in 4 years later, 1978, with her story. And she was the first woman to grace the cover of a major athletic magazine. They put her on the cover of Ring magazine, the boxing Bible. They call Ring magazine the boxing Bible. Change the image for me, baby, please, my lovely assistant. So this is an article about for those who are looking at my images, and those are listening. Now she has some press. Kathy Cat Davis has some press. She's getting an audience. People are reading about her. They're looking at her. They're seeing her face. She's marketable. She's attractive. She's appealing, right? So they see that she's a woman, and she gets down and dirty in there. And some of y'all men's out there starting to like it. And some of us women out here are starting to say, yeah, that's what we do. A lot of us women. right? Some of us didn't agree with the approach of Kathy Cat Davis, right? Some were more hard edged, when they say, oh, she's not a real fighter, right? But Kathy was a real fighter, right? She got in there, she trained, she tried her best like many of the other women's fighters that was out there was doing, right? In sanctioned and unsanctioned bouts. She was getting down and dirty. Okay, so Kathy now had the media behind her, which was very powerful. Okay, so thank you, Kathy. I love you with all my heart and soul. Okay. I don't know if you was a prejudiced woman or not, but you know what you did something for me, because I wouldn't be sitting here, Natalie Sugar Brown, if it wasn't for your efforts and if it wasn't for what you did to add to this story. Okay. Now, Kathy, uh, also pursued licensing, getting a license in New York State, because this is where the fights were happening. Aside from Las Vegas, Madison Square Garden, Madison Square Garden was where it went down. Okay, and but women wanted a chance. Female fighters, women boxers wanted a chance to be there and to have a piece of that action. Okay. Kathy Cat Davis pursued getting her license aggressively. Okay. And so her market appeal with the media behind her was another big push into where now in 1978, the Athletic Commission finally pulled off, it stopped pressing and allowed these women, these three women, to get an actual professional boxing license. So we had one that went to the Human Rights Commission, okay? Jackie Tonawanda, we and fought for that right to make a living as a fighter. Then we had Lady Tiger Tremar that sacrificed herself, and she shaved her head. She went on a hunger strike. She stood in front of Madison Square Garden so people could see that women were fighting, female fighters existed, right? And they she made her struggle, or she made the struggle, something that now attracted attention. And then here we had Kathy Cat Davis now brought in that sex appeal, that she used her womanly wiles to bring more attention and to bring the media into the public, seeing that women were being denied a basic right of being able to make a living as pugilists. Okay. So it all came together in 1978, and these three women went to the New York Athletic State Commission and they received their official professional boxing license. Now, listen to this now. Okay. The boxing industry was and is still riddled with prejudice. Okay, still riddled with um uh, uh racism, still riddled with just the ugly things that stop all of us from having that equality of existence, right? Certain fighters had more value than others based on their race, and that's race. Certain th- there was what is the word, there were goodness, you guys, I'm on here, and you know how you get where the word is right here but it can't come out of here. I'm not punch drunk, it's just that I'm at a loss for words right now. Uh there was, where did I made my notes here. because I have to say it. The word is it. Um, Segregation. That's the word. So the industry was segregated. There was racism and institutionalized sexism too now, right? Right? Because now not only are the men's fighting among each other and separating each other, right? Black fighters could only fight black fighters, Hispanic fighters could only fight Hispanic fighters, white fighters could only fight white fighters, and so on, right? They were now hold uh, pressing the door closed so women couldn't get involved, right? So yeah, we had our own fight, but you women stay out of this. Y'all can't come and join. Okay, so being a woman now, taking on this system, taking on this industry, was a big uptaking. You read about it and it sounds easy, but being rejected on so many levels is hard, because you can't get fighting out your system. I still get up in the mornings. I still run and I still shadow box. And I suppose I would be doing this until I'm old and gray. My grandkids will probably be watching grandma do her shadow boxing and shadow boxing with her, with me, right? They'll have the story now that, yeah, my grandmama boxed. My grandmama was a champion. So proud of that. I'm so proud when my son says it. And my mom was one of the best fighters in the world. I'm so proud of that, right? But with that story, I've lived rejection after rejection after rejection. And it was the story of these ladies that kept me going. When I became a mother, when I was ignored by the media, when there was segregation, when I had to go underground, because sugar, yeah, there's a story of sugar going underground too, just to fight. So read the story that I tell you about the life, because I lived it. Okay? Each woman played a part. Each woman is important in the puzzle pieces. Change my image. Please change my image, lovely assistant. Please change my image. Right? Each woman. There you see Kathy Cat Davis in there with another contender. Fighting. Change my image again? Please. Okay, so these women are that women we been out here. We been behaving badly out here. Yeah, you got a legendary trainer here teaching Kathy Cat Davis the Philly shell, the shoulder roll. Been skills. Been passed down from one young lady, from one woman to the other, from men, teaching us how to be gladiators, how to navigate this industry, how to be baddies out here, right? This cute mess that you see now, it's very refined. It's very Disney, okay? Um, the stories must be told. The stories must be told, right? Because these young ladies, they're doing their best, they're trying. They're at the Olympics, right? They're doing their best to represent, but many of them don't even know the foundation that they stand on, which is very disrespectful. The first thing I did when I got into boxing was I looked up who did it before me, how they did it, why they did it, so I can have a better understanding of where I was in the game and how I was going to transcend the game, right? There was an Olympics, but there was an Olympic team before Clarissa Shields even made it to the Olympics. She calls herself the Guat baby. You are great. You are good, but you are not great, right? There were women, you stand on the shoulders of a lot of great women who could fight, who went 3 rounds, who stood in there with men, who got hurt, who bled for you to run your mouth. I appreciate what you've done, Clarissa Shields. I love you too with all my heart. I respect what you've done. Some of the things you do I don't like, but you know, it's just that's just a personal that's a personal difference, right? But that what talk, greatest woman of all time, absolutely not. Don't do that, right? Because even Ali, who came out with the GOAT, greatest of all time, when I'm the greatest of all time, when they sat his ass down and asked him, do you really think you're the greatest of all time? He cleared it up and he said, no, Sugar Ray Robinson is the greatest of all time. And Sugar Ray Robinson didn't step on that one Olympic podium. Okay? You must acknowledge who was here first. Lovely assistant, please give me more photos. More photos, please. Because I'm only seeing the one with we got Lady Tiger Tramar. Okay, so she called herself Lady. She's Miriam Tiger Tramar. She called herself Lady Tiger Tramar because she's not leaving out the fact that she's a lady that's whooping ass in there. Okay, I mean, this is her and her pride. She wasn't a crone here. She was a broad. She was a baddie here. Keep going. Give me another image, please. That was her when she first started. In the gym. I'm hoping, fingers crossed, that I can connect and get her. I don't bring guests on the Sugar Show, but bringing the great Lady Tiger Tramar on my show, she is not a guest. She is the reason why I have a show. So she's a catalyst for what you're sitting in on. So I'm hoping that I can bring her in and she can really tell you. She can spit that real ether on the Sugar Show. Okay, hoping to get some other royalty on this show, because these it is not a female fighter is now just relative, right? They're all, well, you come out, you 1-0, you a champion. Compared to a crone who is 36 and so, right? A female fighter is a female fighter. No. We're not all relative, right? There are layers. There are layers to this onion, and it gets real funky. And y'all will want to hear a lot of these stories and a lot of these hard fought stories and paths and journeys, right? Because it's not about what we do in the ring, right? We ain't that nice yet. There's some of us that are skilled, and some of us, but the appeal is the performance, and the performance is based on the experience. What a bad broad went through, what that crone has turned into, right? That's the performance. That's the ass whooping that she brings to the ring. Or that's the fight that she brings if she gets beat up or beat being a crone in there. It ain't about the youngins. It's about the crones. A female fighter is at her very best as a crone. That's after the age of 35. She's ripe. She's ready. She has lived her story. Okay? That's the cycle. Give me that next image, please. Lovely assistant. So we got we got now Tiger She's this Lady Tiger Tramar in this image. For those who are just, I mean, you guys are listening, y'all are hearing, but the images are there. This image is just of her being that broad. This image going through the industry, ups and downs, ins and outs, and you could see the fight in her eyes, right? She doesn't have that innocent look of those pictures that you saw before, right? I'm showing you the evolution of one of the baddest bitches to have ever done this shit. Okay. Next image, please. And this is the image. It's making me emotional that I love so much of Lady Tiger Chamar, because you can see now that she is a crone in this picture. You can see the look on her face where she's been through all that shit. She's accepted it. She's accepted it. She knows who she is. She's been through the ringer. She got that mohawk. And she's saying in this picture, I'm me. Come get it. She got that smile on her face. She got that look in her eye, right? Because she got that look in her eyes is telling everybody, I got so many tricks up my mofo sleeve. Come try me, right? It's not that balled up look now, like, oh, I got something to prove. And she's looking at you like, yeah, I come teach. You gonna learn today. You gonna learn getting in it with me, right? Next image, please. And this is the last image I'm going to put on here of the baddest, the one of the baddest bitches that ever did it, one of the baddest broads that ever did this, Lady Tiger Tramar. You can see in this picture, she's bald, okay? She's much older. She got that color to her, and she's sporting diamond hoops in her ears with the boxing gloves on, with the red lipstick, with that look in her eye. I got it. I'm me. I'm here. I love this picture too, right? Because in this image, or if everyone who hasn't been listening, to me describe the image is showing a female fighter who has owned her journey, has owned the path that she walked to become who she is in this fight game, in boxing. She made her name. It may not have not been a popular name at the time. Now she's getting her flowers. Now everybody wants to know Lady Tiger Trinidad. Now everybody kissing on her cheek. Now everybody's taking pictures and hanging on her skirt tail or her robe, the tail of her robe. But this was the times when, where was you at? Right? No one knew who she was. She had to reintroduce herself every time she stepped on that square. And she owned it every time. So that is the conclusion of tonight's Sugar Show. I wish I had people chiming in, but you know, it was a story time kind of night. And you know, we'll revisit, we'll visit a lot of paths and journeys walked by some of the baddest bitches who ever did it. And yes, I use that term of endearment, right? Because when you're boxing, you're not nice. When you're fighting as a woman, you're not nice. You're a bitch. You're doing things to break down, offset, disrupt someone else's plan, whether it be your opposition in front of you, and that's not nice. right? So that's a term of endearment. It's not it's not a derogatory term in this sense. We own that as female fighters. We have a history. MMA ladies, right? We was the one. It was this story why you was able to get a license to do your wrestling and your MMA license or whatever. So that Ronda Rousey bullshit that was years ago when they were talking about she was the most dangerous or whatever. But you see who dethroned her though? Holly Holm, a boxer who came out of nowhere that stepped in the octagon, right? And when she got kicked all up in her chin, and then she got the three piece after, she really realized what gang was out here. Okay. So yes, representing for female or women's boxing, right? Yes, female fighting, but women's boxing in particular, right? Because we are the ones that had the story. We're the ones that make the story. We, us, right? We put our lives on the line just so these other women can have a platform and an opportunity to show their disciplines as well. Okay. So uh, I am going to bid everybody adieu tonight. Thanks for coming and watching the Sugar Show tonight. Like, subscribe, share this sugar. Okay. And if you have any questions, please, I mean, there's down if you're looking at it from YouTube or any other platform, leave a comment, ask me a question. Of course, I'll get back to it. Okay. uh the, there's some other stuff, interesting stuff happening always in women's boxing, and we'll talk about it every Wednesday night at 7:30. So until next Wednesday night at 7:30. See you guys next time. Enjoy your weekend. Bye bye.